Welcome to Generations at Work podcast, where our goal is to build bridges and not walls between the different generations in the workplace. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Tim Elmore's new book, The Future Begins with Z, Chapter 2, How We Got to Z. I'm your host, Susan Davis, Maxwell Leadership Executive Coach and Facilitator. And with us today is your generational expert, Dr. Tim Elmore. Dr. Elmore, welcome.
Susan, it's always fun to be with you. You and I have a good time together.
Yes, we do. We're having more fun every time. It's,
I don't know if listeners are having a good time, but we're having a good time.
But we're having a good time. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Before we dive in today, I just want to remind the listeners that if you are interested to get on the list to get an advanced copy, or I guess it's pre-order this book, right? If you can scroll down into the show notes, there's going to be a link that you can pre-order The Future Begins with Z. There are 9 strategies, and we are going to dedicate the next several series of podcasts around these 9 strategies. And so we're going to go just give you a little taste of it. But if you'd like to pre-order that book, just click on that link here in the show notes. If you're interested in bringing a workshop that addresses the issues of generational diversity on your team, that helps you build bridges, go to maxwellleadership.com/generationsatwork and get in touch with us. We'll be happy. We do this all the time. It's one of our most requested leadership trainings. And we have also for you a lot of valuable resources at maxwellleadership.com/generationsatwork, free playbooks, free downloads, and they're all just a value added to you. So Tim, excited to be here with you today as we dive into Chapter 2, How We Got to Z. Now, in Chapter 2, you mentioned democratization in the workforce. Now, explain a little bit about what that means to our workforce today.
Yeah. So the democratization of the workplace simply means, we all know what democracy means, right? It means that more and more of us have a voice, not just the boss has a voice. Yeah. So that can be very off-putting to someone, can I say over 55 years old? Because that's not the way it started with us. I first heard this term from an organizational psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania, Adam Grant. He's very, very popular. And Adam began to talk about this, and I began to dig deeper into the subject. The democratization of the workforce is the result of a few realities happening in our day today. First and foremost is employees are coming in demanding that they have a voice. And the flow chart is not just top down like it used to be. It's more of a flat thing that they're demanding. Secondly, employees are much more savvy and educated than they used to be. More and more are coming in with college degrees, master's degrees, sometimes doctoral degrees. So they, even if you feel like they don't know as much as you do, they think they do. And their smartphone has made them think they're getting dirt on us bosses out there, aren't they? It's scary. Susan, when I talk to an audience, especially college students, they're all looking at their phones. I think maybe they're on social media. No. They're fact-checking Dr. Elmore as he makes his speech. Yeah.
They probably are.
So all of that makes them feel like this should be a volley, not a one-way street. So just know, even if you disagree, Mr. Supervisor or Mr. CEO, they're going to come in wanting to have a voice, and I think they should. I think many heads together on a problem-solving thing, best idea wins, not just the boss's idea wins, is actually a good thing. So if we can check our ego and logo at the door.
I love that.
And then just allow them to, Now, here's one rule we've had. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. We decided on our team that everyone has a voice, not everyone has a vote. And the difference is leaders still need a run point. You still have to make the decision and wear your big boy pants or big girl pants if you're the leader. But I do think it's good to let others weigh in, give their perspectives. Once you listen, and that's right. Now you make the point with much more in your back pocket.
I love that. So you brought in this chapter, when I first started reading it, I was trying to get where are we going here? But you brought some significant hope in this chapter. And I'm going to read this. You said, when you say, what if I told you that changing the way you lead young team members could be a game changer? What if
Yeah.
I told you that there are better strategies to lead them that are healthier and more sustainable that our former, quote, old school methods? What if I told you that adopting your approach could lead to better results? Now, as a leader, this got me excited. I got
Yeah.
really excited. And in probably every listener out there, when I read that, it gives me chill bumps. Like it gets me excited.
Yeah.
And probably
Yeah.
their ears just perked up. Dive into what you mean by that. Because listen, if you're not listening, it's a game changer. It's a game
Yeah.
changer.
Yeah, it really is. So just yesterday, I was on a call with a client that I'm going to be seeing. It's a law firm up in Pennsylvania, but they were saying that, Tim, I'm buying into what you're saying. Here's why. They said our law firm, which is pretty big and pretty successful, is now looking at how does AI play a role
Mm,
in our practice of law. And they said we met with our interns who were taking classes on AI. And we were saying, teach us what you're learning, teach us what you're learning. And they were saying they were the most helpful people in the meeting
yeah.
because they were getting current information, real time. So I know that's anecdotal, but I would just say it's a picture. More and more, those young team members, even if they don't have great work experience, are going to have new insights. It's almost the difference, Susan, between reading a book and reading a magazine article.
Oh, wow.
Here's why. A book is really helpful. Hopefully, mine is helpful,
Hmm.
but it's usually information that's a year old. Magazine articles are current
Right.
information. Last month's information is being published this month. You follow what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
your young employees are going to be like a magazine article with real-time current information. And I think we need to do some listening, not wagging our finger and saying, gotcha, you're out of here, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's one more story, though, Susan. I got to tell this story. This is not just a current
Mhm.
reality. This has been happening now for almost 50 years. In fact, the story I'm about to tell is 50 years old. In 1975, Kodak was on the rise. In
Mm.
fact, if you thought of a camera, you thought of Kodak, right?
Yeah.
In the 90s, even, they were still top of their game. But did you know in 1975, a 25-year-old team member at Kodak named Steve Sasson invented the digital camera
Wow.
way back 50 years ago? Now, they're not that old, and here's why. He brought the idea to his supervisors, his leaders, and they said, well, that's going to cannibalize you know, all of our work right now,
Hmm.
developing film and selling cameras. So Steve Sasson's idea never saw the light of day. I repeat,
Wow.
never saw the light of day. I just heard on the news 2 days ago that Kodak is considering going out of business, just shutting down completely. And pardon me, in all due respect, it's their own fault. One of their own came up with the idea. And then, of course, that ideas are catching on, and
Yeah.
other people are going to invent your idea too. So they should have listened to that 25-year-old and
Yes.
said, you know what, it is going to cannibalize, but it's the future.
Mm.
They were in love with the past. He showed them the future, and they
Wow.
stayed with the past instead of the future. Yeah.
And they became irrelevant. They're becoming
Yeah. That's
irrelevant,
right.
as you
Yeah.
said. Now, part of this chapter is, in which I love it because the questions I get when I'm in the field are, why are they like this? Why are they like this? Why can't they just do
Yeah.
it? Why can't they show up? Why don't they have a work ethic? Why do they have mental health issues?
Yeah.
I hear this in the field all the time. You
Yeah.
talk about 10 terms, 10 different terms that summarize their world. Now, you instant access, new normal, just one or two of those. Just give the listeners, hey, this is why this generation is the way it is. Maybe one
Yeah.
or two of those.
Yeah. I do believe that understanding the world that they came from is going to
Yeah,
help us live better.
so
That's
much.
just like it helps a good parent to understand this is why my daughter, I know you have a daughter, this is why my daughter is acting the way she is. So instant access, we've all heard that term, right?
Hmm.
It's all Gen Z has ever known is this world of instant access. So whether it's YouTube information, I can look up a video, Google information, they have instant access to answers. I had to go to the library and look up something in a hardbound encyclopedia.
Hmm.
They don't have to. Netflix, instant access. If I have a subscription, I can just sit on that couch and eat my Cheetos, and the next episode just scrolls right in, baby. So just know, if that's the world they've ever been, while I don't say to you it excuses their bad behavior, it does
Mhm.
explain their behavior.
Yeah.
So, yeah, instant access. On demand, same kind of, it's a cousin, not a twin. On demand means I can get that information on demand. That TED Talk, for
Mhm.
instance, if I want a master class, I do have
Yeah.
to pay a little bit, but I can get it right now. I don't have to wait to sign up for a college course next semester. So I would just say be understanding as a leader. Understand.
Mm.
And these 10 terms are just in that chapter are just really good reminders to you as a leader or a supervisor or manager. Of course, they would act that way or say that thing. They've grown up in a very different world than the one that I did.
Yeah, what the word that kept coming to my mind as I was reading is empathy. Like,
Yeah,
let me have a little empathy. And as you spoke about in the prior podcast, a
yeah,
leg, like, let me
yeah,
listen, let me really hear what they're saying and understand it from the lens of a different generation, which will build that relationship. So
yeah,
good. Now,
yeah,
you compare and contrast the different generations. You have a great visual in the book, which I believe we have as a download free in the back office there. You can download that at maxwellleadership.com, Generations at Work. Um, there are different perspectives, I'll say, from the five generations and maybe some generational fears. What are just some of those? If you'll just give us a couple of those.
yeah. Well, I will just talk from the heart right now rather than
Mhm.
tell you what's in the book. I mean, this might be in the book, but I think this is really current for me. As I continue to age in my 60s, I am working very hard to stay current, and
Mm,
obviously I research and try to write good books that help people. But I have this gnawing, quiet fear that I might be irrelevant.
yeah,
You used that word earlier, Susan.
I feel the same.
Yes.
I feel the
And
same.
things are happening faster and faster. Change is happening more rapidly. So I want to remember that those maybe over 55 might be feeling irrelevant, that I might be replaced by this young whippersnapper that's come onto the team and has these intuitions about where everything's going. So that would be
Yeah.
one, I think, is a regular fear. I think many people, even young people, might fear that AI might replace them. You
Mm,
know, I've heard that as much as 50%, this is one study, not every study, but as much as 50% of the jobs will be replaceable. This is why, Susan, you and I are such believers in emotional intelligence.
yes.
I don't think, at least right now, AI can replace an emotionally intelligent person. And by that, listeners, I mean someone that is self-aware,
Hmm.
managing themselves very well, socially aware of the team members around them and what they're feeling and what their body language is saying to me, and
Yeah.
then managing relationships well. I just think an emotionally intelligent person will not be, at least in the near future, ever be replaced by Chat
Agree.
GPT or any of those apps that are out there right now. So I'll stop there, but I feel like those are really, really important, big picture truths to embrace.
What if your book had the expert backing it deserves? Join best-selling author Tim Elmore and a team of publishing pros for their next book in a weekend event, happening February 27th through March 1st, 2026, in Alpharetta, Georgia. You'll get expert coaching, insider tools, access to publishers and editors, and a shot to pitch your book. One participant will even land a book deal with Maxwell Leadership Publishing. Apply now at abookinAweekend.com. Your story is worth it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think there is that fear even from the older generation to the younger generation. And we all share it. So we have to talk about it. We have to embrace it. Now,
Yep.
in this chapter, when you talk about you're laying out the how we got here with Generation Z, and you bring up some interesting terms, which I thought were just very fascinating, and I think it sheds light on the how. Okay, so you mentioned binge culture,
Yeah.
dopamine culture, low
Yes.
stakes, deep fakes. I found this
Yes.
fascinating when I was reading
Yeah.
it, and it made sense to me. Can you summarize just a little bit for our listeners and just to bring a
Yeah.
better understanding of how we got here?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. It is so
Yeah.
fast. I
Yeah.
geek out on this stuff.
It
So
was I was fascinated by it. Yeah.
I'm going to try to be not a nerd as I talk to you now. So, Something has happened in our day that no other past generation can say has happened to them, particularly our grandparents 100
Yeah.
years ago or so. So when I talk about binge culture or any of those terms, Susan, you just brought up, here's what
Mhm.
I'm saying. We have the opportunity in our day, like no other generation, to binge on almost anything. You can binge on
Mhm.
Netflix, right?
I have.
You can binge on food. Yeah, that's right. I have to. The word binge really became popular in regard to food. We
Yeah.
knew that young teenagers were binging, on food
Yeah.
and then throwing up, and it was just awful. But that was what it was. Well, now it's any subject. You can binge on Netflix. You can binge on junk food. You can binge on smoking.
Anything.
Listen, you can binge on porn. Come on.
Mm.
So anything you can binge on.
Yeah.
Well, what that's done to our brain is not helpful. Your brain, listeners, has a natural way of bringing balance to yourself, to your body.
Mhm.
When pain and pleasure both happen, your brain tries to balance, though. If there's too much pain, your brain tells your body to release chemicals like endorphins and
Mhm.
dopamine, right? Serotonin. If there's too much pleasure, your brain releases chemicals to balance that. So we all know this, don't we? If you go out running for 3 miles, that introduces a little pain to your
Yeah.
body, right?
A
Let's just be
lot.
honest. That's right. A lot of pain to me. So your brain naturally releases these wonderful endorphins. And that's why at the end of the run, we say, ooh, I've got a runner's high, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Runner's high is naturally happening. So balancing act naturally happens.
Mhm.
Here's the problem. When you can binge on something, you can introduce so much pleasure just watching that very fun TikTok
Mhm.
thing, and you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Now your body's not sure what to do. This is too much pleasure. And now I'm introducing pain, and then
Mm.
you can get all discombobulated. In fact, Susan, I'll be honest, I'm not an organizational psychologist. I'm not a clinical psychologist, but I wonder if some of the anxiety and the depression that we're experiencing today, we brought on ourselves.
Mm.
We're introducing so much pleasure, our brain's trying to balance it out. Oh my gosh. Can you see what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
absolutely.
So,
This section really spoke to me. It's fascinating to me because I hadn't
yeah.
thought about it in that way.
Yeah. So I would just say, listeners, here's an application. It's the lost art of moderation that we need to be disciplined enough to moderate ourselves on that Netflix
Mm.
episodic series
Yeah.
or whatever we're watching or doing or eating or smoking or vaping. I know I probably sound like your chaplain right now, but you need to make sure discipline will never go out of style.
Yeah.
But grit will never
Great.
go out of style. Sorry if I sound like your football coach now, but I'm telling you, that chapter just reintroduces. And I'm telling you, Gen Z has grown up in a world where we've always been able to binge, and
Yes, on everything.
our children, parents, they've always been able to binge, and that's scary as well as happy. It's
And
yeah,
created so many of the other issues
yeah,
that we
it
have
did,
going
it
on.
did.
It
Yeah,
does.
that's
It
right,
does.
that's right.
Um,
So we'll stop there. That's a teaser to the chapter there.
it's so good. It made a lot of sense. I just have a couple more questions as we wind down, but you do an excellent job of diving in with Gen Z through many of your focus groups. You
Yeah,
really get to the heart of understanding this generation. This is one of the things I love, and this is why this book, Future Begins with Z, it's so timely. It's just so timely. But you introduce the word coping, okay, and how the letters of this word
yeah,
reflect Gen Z. Now, we don't want to
yeah.
give it all away, but
Yes.
can you
Okay.
just briefly, what does this mean? And then how does that shape how we lead this generation?
Yeah. So as I did these focus groups and I tried to summarize what's the narrative of the Gen Z culture, you're
Mhm.
going to find individuals that are exceptions to this rule. Everybody's a unique individual
Yeah.
with different traits, and there's pessimists and optimists in every generation. There's extroverts and introverts in every generation. This is sociology, not psychology.
Mm.
But the narrative of this generation can be summed up with I'm coping and hoping.
Mhm.
So think about this. They're hopeful because they're young and they want to have a great career and a great life. But right now, many of them, the majority of them said, I feel like I'm just coping right now. And unfortunately, it's coping mechanisms, not coping skills.
Mm.
We all need coping skills, right? Life's hard sometimes. But coping mechanisms might be very unhealthy. For instance, I'll talk to young men who are 18 years old, maybe, and they'll go, "Yeah, I get home and I'm 5 hours on a video game because it's the only way I can make it through the day."
Mm.
Now, what I did was I did a meta analysis on all the data I'm taking in on Gen Z, and I chose 6 words, and they spell the word coping, which is why Susan brought up this word coping.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think of word coping, it's to help you remember these 6 things. So, Susan, I'll share 2 or 3 real quick, and we'll
Yeah,
be done.
yeah. Don't give it all away. Don't give it all.
So the letter C reminds me there is a cynicism within culture right now, at least the Gen Z culture. You might say, I'm optimistic. Well, maybe. But as you interview these Gen Zers, just know the overtone of this young 20 something is they're a little cynical about the government.
Mm.
There's a little cynicism about jobs, right? And what you're about to pay me, Mr. Employer or Mrs. Employer. There's a cynicism about education. Is higher ed even worth it? Am I guaranteed a job at the end of my college degree? You know what they're saying to me in the Chocus groups? I'm guaranteed a debt, but I'm not guaranteed a job.
Mm.
Well, that's true. That is true. So you can step into their shoes and go, well, I see what you're saying there.
Yeah.
So just know you might be interviewing a young job candidate that's a little cynical, a little skeptical, a little jaded about the world that they're living in.
Mm-hmm.
The letter O in coping is they are almost always overwhelmed.
Ooh, yeah.
Overwhelmed. In fact, I've shared before in this podcast, 94% of university students say the number one word they use to describe their life is the word overwhelmed.
That's a huge
94%.
number.
So just know when you're interviewing that young person, pretend just for a moment that you're a parent of that young person. I know you're not. You're an employer, and you got to, balance your spending and revenue. Yeah. But you might have an overwhelmed young person that wants to succeed. They want to succeed at this job, but they're absolutely overwhelmed, which means they may come to work not quite ready to really do the work they need to do. But I think there's something. I think they got pixie dust. They got pixie dust. So we need to let them know that they're cared for and they're loved, and we're going to believe in them and invest in them. But they might come in overwhelmed. So I'll stop there.
Yes, that's good stuff, Tim. You finish up this chapter, and we'll finish up this podcast with this last question. You give the readers 5 practical ways to lead this next generation. This is $1 million question, right? This is what everybody asks me when I'm training and coaching. How do we lead them? I don't want you to tell them all. I want you to give us one, just one.
Okay.
How do we lead them?
The one I would give you, if we just had 1 minute at Starbucks together with a latte, it would be this. Keep in mind that trust must be earned. It is earned, not trust should be earned, not expected. Now, I know you want expected because well, I'm the boss. Look, I got a badge on right here.
One leadership. Yeah.
That's right. So I know this is kind of cliche, but listen to me. It's earned through bridges, not badges. I need to build a bridge to this young employee who's from Generation Z. But if I'll do that through a relationship, and I'll really build, I'm getting to know them and their dog and their hobbies or whatever, I don't know, but I'm getting to know them. All of a sudden now there's a bridge being built and I'm building trust. Then I might be able to challenge them with a task. But because I built that bridge, they're willing to take it on and give it all they got. Because I didn't just say, well, look, you're the peon on the flow chart here or the organizational chart here. I think that does it. So please, 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 leaders that are listening, build that relationship and earn that trust. Yeah.
So important. Good information from The Future Begins with Z. You can pre-order this book at the link in the show notes. We want to thank you for being with us here today on this podcast. We're grateful for the time you're spending with us. If you have questions, if you want to bring Dr. Elmore's training into your organization, we can do that. Visit us at maxwellleadership.com/generations at work. You'll also find a lot of valuable downloads and resources for you. We appreciate you being here today, and we'll see you on the next podcast.